everybody? Terrence Pop here with another episode, you guessed it, from the Lair! Pretty much finished up the ghost stories. You know, I jumped around a little bit. I think there's a few more that happened to people that were close to me in regards to military service, and there might be a few more that I remember down the road. Because, you know, my brain pan, got jacked up in 2004, and it's not firing on all 8 cylinders, if you know what I mean. So we're going to go back to the Ranger Battalion. And when I first got there, I was basically an E4 without a Ranger tab. And back then, in the culture that existed in the Ranger Battalion, you were basically considered a piece of shit. And one of the main reasons everybody thought that you had bad habits because you weren't, brought up in the, Ranger Battalion, number one. And number two, my time in service and rank, date and rank put me in front of all of the E2s, E3s, and a lot of the E4s to go to Ranger School, because that's how it went on their UML, or their OML, Order of Merit List. That, your PT tasks, and some other stuff like that. So, needless to say, I wasn't really liked. But, it is what it is. They tried all kinds of shit to get me to quit, and, they fucked with me pretty ruthlessly for about 4 months. And it slowly died down until the next 2 crops of noobs showed up, and, they just kind of lost interest in fucking with me because, I'm just not in me to quit. But one of the unforeseen positive side effects of this, because my squad leader, Staff Sergeant Smith, didn't like me, didn't really want me around. So every chance he got to send me to some bullshit details, he did. And a lot of them turned out to be pretty fucking cool. They found out that I had drove a deuce and a half in, the 9th ID. I had that license, I had the Humvee license. And I had one other, I want to say it was a 5-ton license. But back then the 5-tons were a lot easier to drive than the ones they have today. They were dummied down, and they had sticks and everything. We basically drove like a deuce and a half. It was just scaled up version. Though I had a lot more hours than the deuce and a half because it's a lot easier to drive. So, one day, they had a quota to send, I think it was 4 people from the platoon to go be Jeep drivers for a couple upcoming missions. And of course, I got sent. They didn't want to give up their quote-unquote good people. And plus, I already had a driver's license. So I wound up, driving the Sharks, which are those, back in the day, they were black Jeeps, cages in all 4 corners, not a lick of fucking armor, roll cage, and I believe they put 3 of them, or maybe 4 on the back of a C-130. I'm just trying to remember the stacking order. I think it was 3. And, literally, you'd be strapped down, you'd be in your, vehicle ready to go. The Rangers would jump in, they would seize the airfield, they'd radio the C-130s that it's clear. They would come and land. Now, when you get the call to land, they give off the command to unhook, and everyone unhooks all the vehicles. And literally, some of the times, it's still rolling, basically, 5 to 10 miles an hour, and you bump the Jeep into drive, and then as soon as you get to the end of the ramp, you drop it back into neutral, and you're off and running. Now, for whatever reason, I haven't been able to put my finger on this in all of the times I've thought about it, but almost every single time we would do an operation in the dark, because we would do the qual, the walk, and the run. And the run was always at full combat speed at night. All the actors, all the players, little birds, the whole fucking deal. Task Force 160, it was fucking full court, full speed. So, one of the old infantry sayings, at full combat speed, move! But every time we would do it at full combat speed, some motherfucker would get run over. I fucking don't know why that is, because all it really takes is just a little bit more hesitation and keep your head on a swivel, and you can avoid shit like this. Nobody really got seriously hurt. I mean, we had a guy, broken arm, broken leg, They're young, they healed right up, they bounced right back. And there was a couple times where I almost ran over a couple dumbasses myself. And literally, I'd be standing up behind the wheel, get the fuck out of the way, move the fuck out of the way. Later on they would smoke my bags because I was just an E4, and some of the people I yelled at, maybe they were second or first lieutenants. There wasn't really that many second lieutenants there, or an NCO or some shit, and they would get pissed off and fuck with me later. But that was actually pretty fucking cool. I really enjoyed that. And then you were required to do so much driving a month. So there were quite a few afternoons where after lunch I'd report to the motor pool, and that's all I would do is drive till chow, on hardball, dirt roads, cross country. A lot of times you'd have your crew with you, so they would get used to how to drive and hold on to the vehicle, in certain terrain. And then you would do your rehearsals on occupying blocking positions and, putting out the landmines and the claymores and setting up, sector stakes and digging, hasty fighting positions. And we got to the point where we could literally roll up onto a blocking position, and within 5 minutes, it would be mined, covered by machine gun fire. Everyone would be dug in and ready to go. That's pretty goddamn impressive. And usually on those blocking positions, you'd have, a 162 saws, 90 gunner, and the rest would be 203 riflemen. Usually, I think it was like 6 to 8 people on on the gun crew. It was a good time, and it really broadened my horizons on the whole thing, because a lot of the other soldiers, the lower enlisted rangers at the time, they were kind of pissed off because I got put on these things. Because they wanted to do it, but they were too valuable to their squad. So, hey, it is what it is. What was it? One of the other ones that I got picked for, since I was a Jeep driver, they made me a bike driver. So, as a bike driver, airfield seizure, you'd literally rig up your Honda 250, and you would rig it in such a way that when it landed and you got up to it, you just pull one thing and all of the dunnage and packing material will just fall off. And it was usually honeycomb cardboard. Maybe, I think they had some other cardboard. No styrofoam at that time. It wasn't as popular. I heard that they use that now. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if they do this concept anymore, but we would rig up the bike, put just a T10 standard parachute on it. And there'd be 4 to 6 of us bike drivers, and we'd literally be on the ramp, while it's in the air. We're rigged up. We have our parachutes on. You kickstart the Honda, that motorcycle, right around the 2-minute mark. You're revving it up there, and then when the light goes green, you let go, you push it out, and you go right behind it. And in the dark, there's chem lights on these, so you can follow it down with your chute. And then you can find it in the dark because it's usually still idling. Get up there, you release the packing material, and off you go. I did 3 or 4 missions as a bike driver, and they took me off that because I really didn't have experience driving a motorcycle, and I really didn't get any better with the training that I was got. And maybe it was a hint from the universe that riding a motorcycle, especially in the dark with no experience, is probably something you shouldn't do. And one of the funny stories from that is we were doing, at full combat speed, airfield seizure. I'm on the motorcycle. I'm running down the airfield, and I hit a barbed wire obstacle. And it was all concertina wire. And whoever put that up, a bunch of dickbags, it wasn't set up by us. It was set up by an Op 4 unit. And in the dark, with your nods on and you're doing about 30, didn't see it. Hit it, flew right into the middle of this pile of wire, and I was fucked. I mean, I couldn't move. I was literally stuck there. Couldn't do shit. And I had my throat mic on, and the operation lasted about 2 hours. And at that time, the index, and at the index, you rally up at one location. Everyone takes head count, and if people are missing, they go out and look for them. So, 2 hours and 15 minutes, I starting to get in the call over, the throat mic, hey, Pop, where are you at? And I didn't know where I was at. All I know is I remember I keyed the mic, and I'm like, Pop's in wire. And like, okay, you're in a wire. Are you okay? I'm like, Pop's alive. Pop's in wire. And they're like, well, where are you at? I don't fucking know. So I'm like, airfield, Pop's in wire. So about 30 minutes later, you know, they see the white lights come on, and they're walking down there, and they're yelling my name, and I yell for them, and they're mad as fuck at me for, you know, because I couldn't give them my location. And then they were mad until I walked up, and they just saw how fucked up I was. And apparently that was, the punishment was, you know, more than enough to fuck with me after that, because I was all cut up, and I had to get a couple stitches. My uniform was all ripped as shit, had an ass cheek hanging out. It took them like 15 minutes to cut me the fuck out of the wire, and the whole time everyone's just laughing their fucking balls off at my expense. Yeah, I took it with a grain of salt, you know, yeah. Went back to my fucking hooch and slept the night off in shame. But yeah, it's a good time. You know, again, the bike missions, they weren't my you know cup of tea. But this one here, which was the cream of the cream fucking missions that I did get when I was in the battalion, we got a you know, basically a director from hire, and 4 people from each platoon would become snipers. So I thought that was pretty cool. Again, I don't want to lose any of my guys, send a fucking pop. So, you know, while I was in the Ranger Battalion, they did 3 MTTs, which are, you know, mobile training team, sniper training classes. They're 2 to 3 weeks long. I loved it, had a great time doing it. We used the M24 sniper rifle with the Leopold 10 power fixed mil-dot scope. And the way I rigged my rifle was a little different than some of the other guys. They would zero their stuff at roughly 500 meters, and then they would adjust their dope from there, 600, 700, 800, and then they would drop it down. I myself would just zero it at 500, and then I would adjust off of the mil dots. Now, this gave me some benefits and some disadvantages. Roughly, when engaging 1,000 yard or 1,000 meter targets, I was hitting 6 to 8 out of 10. Okay, I mean, a 308, 1,000 meters, you know, you're gonna have some drift, and if you're not doing the exact adjustments, you're gonna have that. But you know, the standard was being able to hit 6 out of 10 at 1,000 with the M24, which I could do usually very easily. My bread and butter was 500. 4 to 800 meters usually, because I zeroed right at 5, and I could adjust off the mil dots. And the M24 back then, it did have a magazine, so a lot of times when we were doing raids, I would get set up next to the 60s, and I would have to put down accurate suppressing fire. Now, when you have a weapon like that, it's not suppressive fire, it's direct fucking kill fire. And I would take my, you know, spare PC, and I would fill it full of the M118, you know, 168 grain hollow point bolt tail national match rounds, and I could burn through about 80 a minute. You know, accurate fire, you know, headshots, 500-600 meters, you know, dudes in bunkers and towers, you know, all the fucking crazy shit like that. And a lot of times we would simulate the headshots, because we would get these beat up bowling balls. I don't know where they got the targets for some of this shit, but it was pretty fucking cool. And they would put them on this metal, it was like a broomstick, but it was metal, and it was cut at an angle, and they would pound that in, and they would put the bowling balls right at head level, and they would put them behind mock, you know, simulated, you know, machine guns and anti-tank missiles and stuff like that, RPGs. Because we were practicing for, at that time, direct action in Iraq, because we knew it was coming, and we're getting ready, you know, for that fucking party. Fucking enjoyed the shit out of it. Now, the cream of the crop of that particular fucking mission was I got sent to Marine Corps Scout Sniper School at Pendleton Air Force, or Pendleton Camp Pendleton, as the Marines call it. Sorry. The Air Force base that's near there is called something else. Now, all of the snipers from the 2nd Ranger Battalion all went up there to do Scout Sniper. And the way they worked it out is we showed up after 0 week was completed, because they didn't really see any training value at smoking the dog shit out of a bunch of airborne rangers who've already been had their fucking bags smoked for, you know, however long they've been there. So, I mean, we had to do all the same shit that the Scout Snipers did. The stalks, we had to keep up the standards with the shooting. build the hides, and we all did well. I think we all made the standard, with the stocks, which was very difficult because that's a different terrain. Cactuses and it's fucking prickly pears, hot as fucking shit. Snakes, the whole fucking bit, the whole fucking ball of wax. And the Marine Corps Scout Snipers are fucking phenomenal, especially instructors. Those guys are a legend. Each and every one of them that was there, my hat's off to you. You're fucking amazing. They were fucking near. It was near impossible to avoid their fucking spotters. They get on that fucking hill with the binos, and you had to be on your fucking game to get within 300 meters and get a shot off. And that's really, back then, all we had to do was get within 300 meters and get the shot off, and then fire a second one. And if they couldn't detect that, then, that was a fucking goal max. If you can get the first shot off and they can get within 5 meters of you, you still passed that particular stock, but you didn't get the goal max. And we were fucking with these guys, and they had one instructor, and we bet him, and we all threw our money in a hat, because he said he would stalk us fucking naked. All right, now I didn't fucking believe this, so I'm like, fuck yeah, I want some of that action. I'll throw $20 in there. So this instructor, I don't remember his name. He had the hat on with the jute and the fucking foliage. He camouflaged his face, and he put on flip-flops, and then he taped them on his feet with duct tape, and he wore a Speedo bathing suit. That is it. Didn't even have a drag bag, nothing. And he had his M40 sniper rifle, which is the ones that the Marine Corps uses. And I don't remember if they're long or short action. But that motherfucker, we saw him one time. We tried to maneuver on him, but he fucking got away. But he went from about 800 meters out to within 300 meters and got 2 shots off, and we couldn't even fucking see his ass. And he won $500 fucking dollars. Now he earned that money because he was all fucking bit up by fucking all kinds of fauna, whatever. He had cuts. He was bleeding. The medic had to come out and fucking treat his fucking sores. But he fucking beat us fair and square. And that was some good fucking shit right there. We had a couple other altercations. We got caught drinking in the barracks by the Sergeant Major Pendleton, and he smoked our bags for a good hour. It was good times. Of course, nobody's going to quit or anything because, we're not having that because we're we're Army and they're Marines. And everywhere I went on post, it was always Army dog. I'd be going through the chow hall. I remember I was going through there and I wanted some chili mac. They're like, want some chili mac, Army dog? Oh, sure. Want another scoop, Army dog? Yep. Want some bread? Yep. Because that's another weird thing, is they would have the bread behind the chow line, where in the Army, the bread you get yourself outside. You can they treat you more like an adult and you get your shit that way. Everything was Army dog. And then they would do D&C. I would see them, marching around. I believe they would do it right after lunch for a good, half an hour to 45 minutes. And they were fucking good. They were on their fucking shit. And last but not least, and this is a good one here. We had a day, we took an evening off. It was a Friday. I think we'd been there maybe a week. And we all went down to Pizza Hut, which is right off Pendleton. Now, back in the day, Airborne Rangers had the high and tight, where there's basically no hair on the side. And on the top, it's usually it can't really stick out through your fingers. And unknowns to us, this was the haircut that Marines got in boot camp. So when a Marine would show up with that haircut, everyone called him a boot. We didn't understand this. We didn't know what was going on. We're in civilian clothes. We're all in fucking Pizza Hut. There's the Marines, and there's us, and everyone's calling us fucking boots. They're being fucking dicks. They're fucking with us. I don't know if it's a Marine Corps hazing thing, and then some words were exchanged. And I remember, our squad leader, I'm not going to say his name, pulled out his ID card, identified himself. He said, "I'm Staff Sergeant such and such from the United States Army, and I'm here visiting Pendleton, and these are my men." Now, I remember one of the Marines grabbing the ID card out of his hand, and then, I don't know who it was, somebody from our party stood up and just blasted that dude in the face. So this big fucking fight ensues. Marines, Airborne Rangers. It looked like a big ball of meat, and all you could hear is fucking, fists on face and fucking people getting flipped on the ground. Not a lot of kicking people on the ground. None of the, nobody's hitting anybody with pitchers because we're all servicemen. It's just a fucking fight. We kind of all rolled out the fucking door like a big fucking meat fucking ball and in the parking lot, and then the fucking MPs and the cops showed up and they broke the whole fucking thing up. And that got wrote up in the local fucking paper. And it basically said, Marines, basically mistake airborne rangers as boots. And it didn't go well. It was fucking hilarious. And, a lot of those Marines got fucking hammered to the fucking flagpole by the sergeant major. Even though we pled for leniency, we're like, hey, it's just some guys fighting, it's not a big deal. Now, if that had happened at Fort Lewis, there would have been, a couple of company grade Article 15s, and that's it. But some of these guys were getting the full boat, losing a stripe, 90-90, half one's pay, the whole fucking deal. And that might have something to do why the Marines don't retain people, because I think it was a little harsh, but who am I to say? But anyway, that's some of the better missions I had when I was the 2nd Ranger Battalion. In fact, I went on to become the sniper section leader when I picked up my E5 after Ranger School. And, I rode it out till I ETS'd and went Special Forces. That was a good fucking time. Anyway, I'm going to try to come up with some more Ranger Battalion stories before I move on to Ranger School stories, because I have an ass load of those. Because I was made the administrative first sergeant, and anytime something got fucked up, they would go, all right, we're going admin. Admin first sergeant report. And I'd have to show up there with my fucking inventory fucking cards and my fucking clipboard and keep track of shit. So I got to see things up close and personal that most people would just drone out through. And what I mean by drone out is when you get to a certain level of exhaustion, your memory just kind of comes in and out. It is what it is. Anyway, gentlemen, have a good evening. Don't go to the ground. And if you have to fight in a big fucking meatball and roll out in the parking lot when the MPs show up, run the fuck away. Take it easy.